Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Judy, and I always introduce myself because I'm not sure if maybe this is the first video somebody picks up and watches. I do have them in order kind of for a reason. They don't really flow perfectly, but there are things that I talk about in some of the earlier videos that if I refer to them now, I'm not going to really explain them. So if you're jumping in the middle here, you might want to think about going back. Unless I completely bore you, then, do whatever you want. So this video today, or this one I'm doing right now, because I think this is the 6th or 7th one I've done today, but this one, I want to talk about good thoughts. And before I get started, let me remind you to hit that subscribe button for me and the notification bell. And when I'm all done talking, if you think you've gained anything from what I'm going to say, or it gave you a new perspective, something to think about, or it was just entertaining because you think I'm full of you-know-what, just hit that like button. And I would really appreciate it. So, in trying to be a better person, and not everybody wants to be a better person. Some people think they're already the best person they could possibly be, and they might be. Again, this is all about what we're here for. But in the long run, no matter what they call it, adikarma, and I don't think I've mentioned that before. Adikarma is the purpose you came here for, the thing you're trying to balance. Your destiny, your fate is actually due to adikarma, which is a balance needs to be made somewhere in your soul's life, we'll call it. So no matter what your adikarma was or is in each life, because you may have, of course, very, very many different ones, depending on how quickly you are able to achieve whatever it is you're trying to achieve. But no matter what you're here for, your attitude, the words you use, the things you do or don't do, all of it begins with your thoughts. Sometimes people have a life where they weren't told that they were anything special, that they always made mistakes, that they were less than what whoever it was expected of them. They were given names, lazy, stupid, ugly. And all of that, when you're growing up, any human being, can affect how you see yourself, how you act with yourself, the choices you make, in life, and probably more important, the way you think about you forever, like for the rest of your life. So you negative talk yourself all the time. You don't give yourself an opportunity to pat yourself on the back, not for any length of time, maybe every once in a while, but then you fall back right into thinking you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you're not. I had an experience like that growing up. The thing that saved me, honestly, it's going to sound ridiculous, but I had a lot of negative things said and done to me that, when I look back, were very cruel. But Mr. Rogers, every day he would tell me I was special. And I'm not embarrassed really to admit that I watched Mr. Rogers every day. I was even in high school watching Mr. Rogers. Not because I thought, Goo Goo Kitty or whatever the names are, the different characters. It wasn't, the trolley or, King Friday or any of those people. It was when Mr. Rogers would tell me I was special, or he'd sing a little song about how special I was. And he was talking to little boys and girls, but inside my heart, there was a little girl who needed to be healed, who needed to be loved, who needed to be told she was loved, that she was special, and that she was wonderful. And he was kind of the only one telling me that, I wasn't living in a home where people told me I was a good person or good at anything. So a lot of the decisions I made about my own future came from what I was used to. I was used to not being good enough. I was used to being wrong all the time, every time. I never did anything right. And I could be bitter about that. Mr. Rogers helped me because somebody believed in me, even if he didn't know me, it was possible. And I do think I brought something with me. I think I brought some kind of inner strength or gumption. I brought whatever was with me. And so I utilized whatever that was in some way or another. I still made some bad decisions. I still, wasn't very good at conflict. My gosh, conflict was always a problem at home, so you didn't fight with anybody or argue with them about anything because that would be bad. That would turn out very badly. So, I was very shy and very timid and not comfortable at all with strangers. I'm still not really. I mean, it looks like I'm just talking to a camera. If it was a room full of people, I could talk to you. If it's one-on-one, ooh. It's scary for me. I'm not good at small talk. Obviously, this kind of thing is what I talk about, I'm not good at, how's the weather and did you hear about that, snowstorm? I can't even fake it very well. But conflict, ooh. I did go to a therapist eventually, and she helped me quite a bit. And in a way, she helped me to also understand some of the spiritual things that I had sort of learned, but didn't put them in the place where I was able to put them once I talked with my therapist for 4.5 years. She helped me to realize that along with other people in my life that, weren't very nice to me or whatever, she helped me to realize that my mother was the one with the problem. It wasn't me. It had nothing to do with me. It was her problem, her insecurities, her inability to be a mother to somebody that she saw as kind of an enemy. Long story, you don't want to hear it. But to me, I understand it now. I understand why she acted the way she did. And I understand why I did everything I could to be loved. She never really noticed. But I feel like that was probably some kind of karmic thing between us. I think there was probably some greater purpose to that uncomfortable feeling between each other. That's a whole other video, right? But I still hadn't learned good thoughts. I'd learned good deeds. I'd learned how important that was. I'd learned to say nice things to people, to use the right words to make people feel comfortable. Although they do misunderstand me a lot. That's still a problem, at least with certain people. Anyway. But I hadn't really learned anything about how my thoughts would affect me. I didn't realize until I went to therapy that I was even thinking things about myself that were negative. I really didn't realize I was doing that. It was so deeply embedded to hear those nasty words, those mean, cruel, horrible words that a child should never hear from a parent. Somebody you trust more than anybody, and then they're, you know, I mean, it affects you. And you make decisions dependent on that negative talk that you continue telling yourself after that person is long gone. So therapy helped me quite a bit. But spirituality was a part of my life at that point. By the time I went to therapy, I had already had, I'm going to say, a good 10 years of considering these things and thinking about these and learning about these things and figuring out all of it. But I hadn't quite figured out good thoughts. And then I had a friend, it was probably, I'm bad with time. I've always been bad with time. But the last 2 years, because we've been dealing with the COVID pandemic, I completely lost those years. I don't know. Anyway, sometime, I'm going to say around 2 to 2.5 years ago, a friend of mine, we were talking about something, I don't know what it was, and he said something like, until you stop the thought that comes into your head, you're still kind of being mean to other people. We're talking about like how, you know, somebody maybe you don't like very much, or somebody that kind of gets on your nerves, or whatever, you know, and you try not to say, you try to be positive with them and say nice things and just not let that come out in a way that's going to be demeaning or negate what they're feeling or saying or whatever, you know, just being basically polite. But in my head, I was still thinking, oh God, I wish she'd shut up. You know? And we all do that. I mean, you know, at some point or another. Oh my gosh, you know, ugh. But I didn't act like that. I didn't say that, you know. And my friend said, as long as you're thinking it, you may as well just be doing it. Because when the thought in your head happens, it changes who you are. It manifests itself in your body language, in the tone of your voice. Maybe that's why people misunderstand me all the time. My thoughts are probably messing me up. It really, really was a lesson that he certainly did have to tell me a couple of times and remind me even more. But I get it now. And the hard part was, how do I change my thought? Because the thought always comes before the action, right? The thought comes before the words, the thought comes before the deeds. How do you change your thoughts? I mean, how do you stop a thought? It goes in your head and it's there. What do you do? So the trick he gave me was, you know, it's going to take a lot of practice. But when a thought starts coming into your head, and after a while you'll recognize when it's coming, not just when it's already there. And that's true. So every time you recognize that a nasty thought has gone through your mind about anybody, even if they're just, you know, bent down and taking a poop on your lawn, you know, no matter what the person's doing, your thought doesn't have to be negative. So if you can force yourself to think something nice about that person, or if you can force yourself to think there must be a good reason why that person is acting the way they're acting or saying what they're saying, and even with empathy, understand that maybe they're talking out of insecurity like my mother was, you know? It's hard to change your thoughts. It takes a lot of work and a lot of practice, and I am nowhere near good at it yet. Maybe I won't be in this life. I don't know. That's probably my destiny. That's probably my added karma, and I'm never going to make it. Negative talk. You see what I just did? Yeah, your thoughts matter because they They define then how you will be, who you will be, how you will act, and why. And it's never nice. It's never good. If you're thinking mean or nasty or ignorant things about people, that's not pulling your soul forward. And in fact, you might be pulling everybody just a little bit back. Because what you do affects everybody. And in a much broader sense, we're all in it together. So there's this, roller coaster ride of things that go on during a soul's life. Soul's lives. So you have to be careful. My youngest daughter's pretty good at this. She still has room to grow too, as we all do. But, the idea that you don't even want to think it. It's something you really have to practice. You really have to want not to think bad things. And the first person you don't want to think bad things about is yourself. Because whoever gave you those words, whoever offered them up to you as, now this is in your psyche and you have to use it, gave it to you because they were too scared to use it themselves. They were too scared to look in the mirror. They didn't know how to be a real person either. They were insecure and probably not self-reflective and probably never considered spiritual matters. And so how would they ever learn in this life? That's their Ada karma, right? Something in them is, this is what they're here for. But boy, did they affect you. That's not fair. Honestly, they're probably very good people who are just hurt. And then they hurt others. And I don't think that would be their intention, really. If you ask them, did you mean to hurt her so badly? I don't think my mother would say yes. I'm not even sure she knew how badly I was hurt, because she was so blinded by her own pain. I know other people that have those kinds of issues, where they're unsure of themselves. They think they're not good enough. They think they'll never be successful. They think that they're not worthy of whatever, love or whatever, because of the name calling and the judgment that was given to them by a person who doesn't self-reflect, doesn't think about what they're saying, is coming from really a very terrified place of their own and insecure about who they are, really. Even if they come across as very confident and good at what they do, there's an insecurity there if that person's parents did something like that to them, which is often the case. So the negative talk we give ourselves may be the place we want to start. And then when we can stop saying nasty things or thinking nasty things about ourselves, we can then move that into not thinking nasty things about others. Who are we to say who they're supposed to be or why they are the way they are? There's a reason. People aren't just, born to be getting on your nerves. There's a reason they act like that. You know what it is? Their thoughts. It's their thoughts. If we could all control our thoughts and turn bad thoughts into positive ones or helpful ones. Man's pooping on your lawn. You could call the cops. You could go out there swearing at him and tell him to stop it. Or you could say, if you want, you can use my bathroom. I know it's scary to let strangers in your house, right? But I mean, it might be better than thinking nasty things about the guy. He's probably already heard enough nasty stuff. That's why he's pooping on your lawn. He doesn't know manners. So good thoughts are important. They're important for our own well-being. That's where you start, for sure. And then for other people that you meet, people you work with, people in your life, people, your family, people who you care for or don't. It's important. Because nobody's in this alone. We are all here for each other. And what I do to myself, I do to everyone. Think about what you think. Watch your thoughts. And if you can turn your thoughts around into something positive, everything in your life is going to brighten right up. I'm promising you that. Good thoughts.